we are live. It is 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and it is the time to retrain your brain and to increase your peace. This is something that we call the golden pause, where we talk about consciousness and happiness and creating change, and a whole lot more through the filter of hypnosis with me, a clinical hypnotherapist. And basically our goal is to, through this stream, podcast, whatever you want to call it, is to give you more agency, more power, and more freedom for your life, like what we do with our clients in our hypnotherapy practice. And we end each episode with something that we call the Golden Reset, a guided meditation to basically train your body to become a calmer, happier you. And we are so excited that you are here joining us, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching a replay later. So happy that you're here. This is episode 2. Can you believe it? We're going to have some kind of anniversary soon. We've reached episode 2, and we basically go live on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's basically the east coast of Australia. And this has been fun so far. It's a challenge for me as well to get in front of this camera and talk. It's something that's not necessarily natural for any of us, including me. But I'm doing it. I'm very happy about that. So episode 1 went okay, as well as episode 1s can go. We had a bunch of little hiccups, which was great. I wouldn't have it any other way. Basically, I went live and then realized that my camera wasn't working, so it was just a black screen. So that's always great for a live show, episode 1. Fantastic. So I had to restart, and then my camera, the stand in which my camera was on, started to fall down as the episode went on. So that was another great episode 1 little fun activity to try to hold the camera up. And lastly, I forgot for the golden reset, I forgot to turn on the music that goes along with it. It was still good, it's still impactful, but it's so much nicer with music. And so I'm going to make sure, and I'll need you to help me remember. So just send me those waves. Turn on the music. Okay, well, let's get on to what I wanted to talk with you about today. Sorry, I'm making noise with my pen. So I reposted an ex-post from an entrepreneur called Cody Sanchez. She's very famous. I'm sure that you may have come across her. She's a business person and big on social media. But she shared a really interesting study from the Kellogg School. It's funded by the Kellogg Foundation, I believe. But basically, it's a research arm, and it was looking at basically, it was a study that looked at how proximity to different people affects people. And basically, there's a 30-foot zone, something like 10 meters, that this study was finding that if you have proximity within that zone to a top performer, individuals' performance jumped by 15%. And equally, if you had someone who was toxic within that zone, performance dropped by something like 30%, like toxicity, bad behavior, basically impacts people more. And it was just such an interesting topic to think about, the proximity, how the things that are around us impact our performance, our mood, how we're feeling, the things that we do. And I mean, it's not super new. It's not a new concept. I'm sure that you may have heard things like you are the average of your, top 5 friends, or the people that you hang around with the most. I'm sure that in every language there's some kind of saying about being careful about who you hang around with. But the research is really strong in this area, and there's research around what's called social contagion, how we catch primarily feelings from the people around that, and that's connected to research done by a lady called Elaine Hatfield and John Cacioppo, and basically they've done a whole lot of work looking at how we catch emotions from each other. And also this topic there's also some overlap on work by an Italian researcher called Giacomo. I wrote it down so that I could say it, Giacomo Rizzolatti. And basically he was the person that discovered something called mirror neurons, which is structures in our brain that get activated by, I guess you could call it empathy. When we see somebody acting in a certain way, doing a certain behavior, we have neurons in our minds, in our brains, that get activated as if we're doing that same behavior, that same action. If someone gets hurt and we're seeing that, our brain in some parts interprets that as we are feeling that pain. And so this idea of being in proximity to things around us that impact us, there's a lot of research around it, and it's super interesting. And basically it's something worth being conscious of. Have you ever thought about something like that, or have you heard anything about catching emotions? I'm sure that you've got someone, maybe have you got someone in your family or friends who kind of sets the like an emotional tone over a situation or a party? And the research that all these people have been doing basically identify that we catch emotions instantaneously. There isn't something that we have to do, that basically by being in proximity to other people's emotions, we are being influenced straight away, immediately, and continuously. So that's one key finding. The other one is the idea that there are people who have a stronger emotion, and an emotion that is more consistent sets like a tone, they call it like an emotional climate. So when somebody has got strong emotions, that's kind of their default mode. And I wonder if you can think of someone who maybe is angry all the time, or they are anxious all the time, or they are happy or calm, most of the time. That's kind of their default mode. And if that's like a strong emotion that they have, as you get close to them, you feel like you enter into like a little ecosystem of emotion, or a climate of emotion. And that's really interesting, because sometimes we have to be around people who are creating an emotional climate that we don't like, that maybe makes things worse for us in some ways. Yeah. Maybe we are also setting an emotional climate that other people have to deal with, and we may not even be aware of it. We may not be aware that the impact that we are having, the tone that we are creating. Something else that the research was basically has found is that on top of these emotional climates, when there is someone in, I guess, like a place of authority, or someone who's got an important leadership type role, or if it's someone who has high visibility, that they have an oversized impact on everybody else, and they also set a tone. And that's why, in leadership, managing your emotions so that you're setting the tone is so important. But that applies to our families, that applies with our children, that applies with in a whole range of situations. What are the emotions that we're feeling? What is our overall pattern of emotion? What is the climate that we live under? In cartoons they used to have sometimes like a cloud over someone with rain falling on it. That's like an emotional climate, but it doesn't have to just be a cloud. It could be a sunny blue sky with a rainbow over it as well. It could be that, and so being conscious of what is the emotional weather around us is critical for us to basically live a happy life, and to help people around us to live a happier, calmer life. And so that's some of the things that I wanted to talk about. And so let's think about, what are the things that impact the climate, the emotional climate around you? Well, if you had to guess, what would be some of the things that you would list there? I'm sure all this research is about the people and how we catch emotions from other people. So who we choose to have around us greatly impacts that. But it's not just who, in terms of the people physically present. Maybe we have to work with people that set a certain tone that we don't like, or we've got family members that are in that situation. But also, there's who we might watch on social media. What is the emotional tone that what we're watching is creating in us? It's really interesting. I'm very cautious about what I allow to come into my mind through my ears, through my eyes, because of this. Having that filter of hypnosis, you're so aware of how things are shaping us without us even being aware. And what we watch is critical, and that includes what our default viewing habits on TV or movies. Like, for example, I don't watch any horror movies at all, because it's not that it's about, oh, it's scary, although sometimes it is. It's more about the how it sets a tone for how I'm feeling inside. It's something that takes away peace from me, and I like peace. who wouldn't like peace? Some people, but the what we watch on those scrolling apps on Instagram, on X, on Facebook, whatever, or TikTok. I don't go on TikTok for this reason. That who we watch, what we watch, and the emotions connected to those things have such a great oversized influence on our lives. And so being very conscious of that is critical. The same with what we listen to. Have you, when was the last time that you read the lyrics of your favorite songs? Sometimes when you read them, you go, oh my goodness, what am I listening to? What is this? What are these words? What am I repeating? What am I repeating over and over again? In hypnosis, repetition is highly influential. Music and rhyme, highly influential. And sometimes you read these songs and it's like, what am I programming my mind, my life with when you read the words? So what we listen to has a huge impact. The environment around us also sets a tone or contributes to the climate of emotion. And that might be whether we've made the bed or not. There's someone very famous who says, make your bed. But it's important. Like it sets a tone in how we feel. The things around us set a tone for how we feel. And so whether we have nature around us, whether we are putting ourselves in places of nature and beauty and exposing ourselves to those things have such a huge impact. So those are other areas. And probably last is our own state of being, what we contribute to that climate, what we bring to the table. And sometimes people aren't aware. Sometimes people say, everybody around me is always in like a bad mood. Maybe there's a clue there. If you encounter the same kind of patterns of emotions around you, that's a signal that there's a common denominator, and your own state and how you manage your own state, how you manage your thoughts, how you manage what you reflect on and meditate on and ruminate on. Rumination is actually really powerful. I was mentioning about repeating is very influential in hypnosis, repetition. And sometimes rumination gets put together in ruminating of negative thoughts. But you can ruminate on beautiful thoughts. You can ruminate on life-affirming thoughts. And that can create a climate around you that protects you from the climate of other people around you. And so those 5 areas are really, really interesting to consider. What about you? What do you think impacts your emotional state the most? If you think about friends, or you think about music, what you listen to, what you're reading, what have you found where the links are for the triggers for positive or negative emotions? And are you managing those so that you can have the kind of life that you want? It's worthwhile. So, do you want me to share something to help you to create some internal distance if there is somebody that you can't physically create space with? Would that be helpful to you? Well, in hypnosis, one of the techniques that we use when we need to create space is the Mickey Mouse voice. And so what you can do is, when you hear a person that creates like a dark cloud over your life, and if it's somebody that you can't, for some reason, you can't create space and move away from, something that you can do internally is to filter everything that is being said as if you're hearing it in a Mickey Mouse voice. So when they talk, listen to them as if it's Mickey Mouse talking. Imagine that they've got that Mickey Mouse voice, and that creates a distance, a psychological distance that will help protect your emotions. I'm sure, obviously, with all of these things, nothing works in 100% for everybody. But right now, there are some people who are watching this who will forever be thankful to Mickey Mouse for creating that distance in their life from something that they want to get away from. Well, I then shared a post on X from a channel called Shining Science, and they let me bring up. They were sharing a study. Their post said, "Your attention can literally rewrite reality." And I said, you could have asked any hypnotherapist. That's fundamental hypnotherapy. Where you put your focus on creates your reality. But they shared a really interesting research piece from Nature Communications, a journal, and this was the title of the article: "Attention amplifies neural representations of changes in sensory input at the expense of perceptual accuracy." I love simple headings that are easy to understand. Yes. So basically, what this research was looking at was basically what the researchers did is they had some monkeys, and then later on it's been replicated and done with humans as well. But they were given an activity where they had to track changes in movement in some stimulus, and they measured a baseline of how the brain responds when they weren't necessarily paying attention. That it was just in front of them, but it wasn't something that they had focused attention on. And they had a baseline response, but then they got the subjects to pay focused attention on when this stimulus was changing direction. And basically what they found was that certain parts of the brain were activating 50% more than what they typically did before when they weren't paying focused attention on the task. And so what that meant is that when we focus attention on whatever we're focusing attention on, our brain responds in a much stronger way. It pays more attention and sorry, not just pays more attention, but it amplifies that response, and it makes it bigger for us than what it would have been if we weren't paying attention to that. And that's why it creates our experience of reality. So if we're putting our focus on things that can go wrong, if that's what we're ruminating on, what's going around our minds, when something does go wrong, our brain responds in a oversized manner to that thing going wrong, and it confirms that belief, what we're paying attention to. And it's kind of connected to the reticular activator. What you are paying attention for, you start to notice. If you shopping for a car and there's a particular brand of car that you like, all of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere. What you pay attention to, your mind interprets it as this is important for you, and so then it will amplify that and help you find it, help you see it more. And so it perpetuates your life, your experience of life. If you think about things that are sad, if you're listening to music that is sad, basically you're training your brain to think sadness is important for this person at the moment. And so we need to see more sadness. It can be the other way. Life can be different. In the episode 1, I shared that picture of the neural pathways being grown and developed, and they're constantly being grown and developed. And so depending on what we are focusing on, where we put our focus on a consistent manner, we are programming ourselves. We are programming ourselves to experience a life that is aligned to what we have focused on. It's something very powerful. And maybe for some of you right now, it's creating like a door, a realization that maybe the darkness that you might be feeling, the frustration or the sadness, maybe there's a way out. There's a door where maybe there's light coming underneath the door, and maybe it's worthwhile even putting your hand on that doorknob and trying to open it, trying to focus on the light and seeing where there's light, and thinking about which people around you maybe bring light, Maybe if there aren't many people physically that bring light, maybe you can think about where there are some people online or people who've written books that bring light. Maybe you can think of what music or what shows you can expose yourself to, you can start to focus on. Maybe even you can start to create a completely different experience than what you're experiencing at the moment. I'm really hopeful for that. And so I shared, well, actually I didn't share it. There was a post by this musician, which does amazing work. His name is Akira the Don. What he does is he gets inspirational conversations or speakers who've have been captured in a podcast or things like that, who are saying something meaningful, life-affirming, insightful, and he connects it to music and creates a song out of these speeches, and that's someone that you could listen to that would add light in your life. But he had a sign that said, your mind is programmable, and if you're not doing the programming, someone will do it for you. And in essence, that's why we do what we do in our hypnotherapy, hypnotherapy practice. We help people to do the programming that they want for their life, if they are struggling to create the change that they want for themselves. And so if that's something that you are needing a hand with, help to create change, feel free to get in touch. That's something that we love to do. It's always a great honor. Well, the last thing that I wanted to talk about, it was a post by someone called Scott Wilson, just a random account that I saw, but they were basically sharing about the benefits, alleged benefits, I haven't experienced them, of sleeping in an inclined bed. Have you ever done this? I'd love to hear if you've had any experiences with this. But he was saying to put a couple of like yoga blocks, a couple of inches, 3 to 4 inches on either side of where your pillows are, and to lift the bed up by that much, so it's in an incline. And he was saying and suggesting that there's research to back this up, that basically it helps your lymphatic system, you sleep better, it helps with digestion, a whole list of benefits. And so I'm going to try it. I've told my wife we are going to be sleeping on an incline for a while, and we're going to see if we notice any difference. And this is something that I love to do. I love to test things out to see how life could be different. Just imagine if all this time we have been sleeping on a flat bed, and life could be way better if it was just a little bit on an incline. Just imagine how much we've been missing out on. So I'm gonna test it, and I'll let you know how I go. But this is why I love to remain curious about a whole lot of things. To when you see things, to not fall into just thinking, oh, that's true, or that's not true, but just going, I wonder. That's curious. I'm interested. Let's try it. Stay curious. Okay. Now is time for the golden reset. Like, this is the best part of your day. And I just have to say, if you're driving while you're listening to this, or using heavy machinery, now is the time to stop, because this is it's a golden reset. And so I'm going to remember to turn on the background music. It's just some gentle music. I hope that the app is doing that job. But basically, now is an opportunity to start to retrain your body. Would you like to be a calmer, happier you? Is that something that would be of interest? Well, if it is, I'd invite you to join in this process, on this golden reset. And all you need to do is to find a comfortable chair, somewhere where you can just maybe even feel like your shoulders are dropping, and get comfortable. This golden reset, some people call it. Some people say that it's like an internal massage. Wouldn't you like an internal massage where everything just finds relief? And it's nice to feel relief. And so, let me invite you to just take a deep breath. And I love the idea of all of us taking a deep breath together. And as you take it in, just hold it for a few seconds. Let's do it. And feel that stretch inside. And let it go. And you may feel comfortable with your eyes closed or not, and that's fine. But you may notice just how it feels like everything is becoming calmer or nicer or a little bit more peaceful. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It might be just a little bit. I wonder if you can notice even a 1% difference. And as you let just that wave of peace come over you, it might be a great time to just remember one of your favorite memories. A memory that makes you happy. It might even be a memory of a pet. Or it might be a picture of a little kitten playing. And you can just feel that warmth inside. It's like the whole climate is changing inside. And with each breath, it's like more peaceful. And it might be just 1 or 2% more, but it is more. And with each breath, it's like such a relief. That breath out is a relief, because you're returning to your default mode. This is your best mode. It's in you. It's yours. And you can return to it whenever you want. Whenever you need a little bit more peace, all you need to do is just another deep breath and feel that stretch inside you. Feel that peace increasing. And it feels so good. You feel better. It's so good to know that you can feel like this. And it's okay if your mind wanders a little bit. That wandering is a little bit like a walk in the park. That's beautiful. You feel safe and comfortable. You're close to nature and it just feels right. And it's just so nice to have this. We can be thankful for each other. We can be thankful for this peace. We can be thankful that we're able to have a little bit more peace. And that if we have even just a little bit more peace, opens up the possibility that even more peace could come, maybe a little bit more. And I wonder how much might come tonight or through the week as you learn to notice the emotional climate around you and the things that are affecting it. And even now you might have something that comes to your mind that you're realizing your subconscious is bringing it to you to make a slight adjustment so that you can have more peace. And so as all of that settles into your body, into your mind, and you let this peace settle into your body. now might be a good time to feel your hands and know that you can return to that peace anytime you need it. But now is the time to be present, And so, as you feel, maybe you might rub your hands and feel your feet on the ground so that you're fully present and comfortable, and be thankful that we just had the golden reset. Well, that is the end of episode 2, and I'm so happy that you came. It wouldn't be the same without you. Like, being together is fun. It's fun for me. You're a fun person to do this with. So thank you so much. I'm glad that you joined, and I'd like to remind you that we go live on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you feel so inclined, you may see that little subscribe button or the like button and click them. If that gives you pleasure, go ahead, it gives me pleasure. So feel free to do so. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening or day wherever you are, and I'll see you in a couple of days for episode 3. Can you believe it? Already episode 3. See you then.